Entering fantasy football seasons, he is the top 30 running backs. I'm ranking entering the year. The first guy, Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. So Christian McCaffrey, since he's been in the league pretty much, he's been a top, obviously, running back in the league. And this year now, I think it's sky's the limit in the stacked San Francisco 49er offense, where he's going to be the vocal point, obviously, is McCaffrey. Last season, they traded for him at the trade deadline. Is this Niner team? And he could be a guy that, honestly, I think he could come close to doing a 1,000 season, running for over 1,000 and receiving for over 1,000. We know he could catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. Brock Purdy, he likes checking that football down. Obviously, he's going to be the starter week one. And the only thing with McCaffrey is why I'm a little weary is obviously the injury concerns. But if he's not injured, I think this season he runs away with that number one spot pretty easy. Number two, Austin Ekeler of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Austin Ekeler, he wanted to get paid, but obviously this Charger team, they only boosted up his salary a little bit, and he was requesting a trade. But right now, he's staying over here as Ekeler, and he's another guy that catches a lot of passes over the last couple seasons, over 700 yards receiving the football. And he's got a knack for the end zone, is Austin Ekeler, with 15-plus touchdowns the last few years as well. So right now, he's a solid running back. He's going 4th, 5th overall in most fantasy drafts here is Austin Ekeler. And obviously in PPR leagues, these guys are head and shoulders other players where they have a possibility of having 80 to 100 catches is McCaffrey and Ekeler. So if you want to switch them out and go Ekeler 1, McCaffrey 2, I don't think that's a problem either. But right now I got Ekeler 2. Number 3, Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. I know Robinson, he was a top pick in the NFL draft here, and a lot of hype right now around him. And I think rightfully so, this kid could do it all. He's a 3-down back coming in, and we don't see a lot nowadays. Obviously, running backs getting drafted high only the last few seasons. Elliott, obviously, he was a high draft pick. Then Saquon Barkley, and now Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs this season is the guys that have been high draft picks. So right now, Bijan, he goes to the number one running offense last season in terms of yards and attempts over there in Atlanta. Tyler Algier, even his rookie season last year, ran for over 1,000 yards. So right now, he's going to have 11 indoor games, which is a huge plus for me as well. Most of his ball games are 1 o'clock. You don't have to deal with the elements and weather and stuff. So that's maybe people that don't look into that. But Robinson, like I said, 11 indoor ball games is huge as well. And like I said, he's running behind a solid offensive line. And if Tyler Algier got 1,000 yards compared to his talent to Bijan, it wouldn't be surprising to me that Robinson could get about 1,500 total yards this season and anywhere from 5 to 10 touchdown range. So right now I got him slightly over Saquon Barkley because he's another guy that could catch 50, 60 balls out of the backfield as well. Number 4, Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants. So Saquon Barkley, a lot of people thought he was going to hold out, but he didn't hold out at all, and he took the money now with the franchise tag and reported. And you know he's going to be motivated to try to run for a monster season here is Saquon Barkley. So Saquon, we know he's one of the better receivers out of the backfield in the league. We know the offense around him over there in New York. And they did add pieces like Darren Waller, Paris Campbell, and free agency Cole Beasley. So they got some weapons on the offense, but still it's going to run through Saquon Barkley. And I think he's a guy this season that could get 1,700 total yards possibly if he's really pushing to get that monster year and prove everyone wrong and bet on himself on the 1-year franchise tag. So Saquon Barkley, we know he's a freak athlete, but we also know injuries have been a huge concern. But what his receiving prowess out of the backfield, and when we've seen him have healthy seasons, he's a top 5 running back, no doubt. So I got him at 4 this year. Number 5, Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. So if it wasn't PPR leagues for the most part that people play in, Nick Chubb, I think I would actually have him in number 3 or 4 spot is Chubb. So right now, Kareem Hunt, he's out of town. Ernest Johnson, he's out of town. He went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And right now, there's really no competition to take some of the work from Chubb, like we saw with him and Hunt, the 60-40 split over the last few seasons. So Nick Chubb, he's one of the best running backs in the league. He's putting up a lot of yards over the last few seasons. And he's on a dynamic offense with obviously a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. If he could get it back like he did in his Houston Texans days, it's going to lead a lot of running lanes here for Nick Chubb. And he's got burst and breakaway speed as well. So right now, I like Chubb at 5. If you could get him in the back end of the first round, early second round here, that's definitely a great play as well. And you can't go wrong, to be honest, with these first 7-8 guys, I believe, could be elite running backs, especially in PPR leagues. Number 6, Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. So Derrick Henry last season, a lot of people thought the decline was on its way. But once again, in his 28, 29 season, at age-wise here, Derrick Henry, he had another monster year. We know Tennessee's one of the worst offensive lines in the league, which definitely could be concerning this season. And we know Henry isn't a great receiver out of the backfield as well, even though he's gotten better over the last few seasons. But like I said, Barkley's a better receiver. Bijan, I think, will be a better receiver. Eckler and CMC, hands down, the two best receiving backs in the league. But Derrick Henry still going to score a lot of touchdowns. And this offense, they got some good weapons. Traylon Burks, even though I know he's banged up now, and who knows when he's coming back. But DeAndre Hopkins was a decent signing, I believe, for this Titan team. And a Conwell at tight end as well was a decent player. So right now, Derrick Henry, he's down a little bit from last season in the rankings. But right now, if you get him in the second round, say you pair him with a receiver or one of these running backs, that's a slam dunk, I think, for fantasy owners. And I got him at 6. Number 7, Tony Pollard of the Dallas Cowboys. So right now, Zeke Elliott, a lot of people thought he was going to come back possibly on a 1-year deal, but he goes to the New England Patriots here, is Zeke Elliott. And right now, I don't know where we're going to see a lot of carries taken from Pollard. I know Malik Davis is over there in Dallas. I know Ronald Jones, even though he suspended 2 games. And Vaughn, the rookie, a lot of people raving about him and saying he was a steal for the Cowboys. But he's not an in-between the tackle running back either. The only guy right now really is Malik Davis, who's an in-between the tackle runner. And obviously Ronald Jones when he comes back. But Pollard last season, he had a few monster ball games. And I think if Pollard could get 250 to 300 touches just on volume alone and his receiving prowess out of the backfield, where he could catch 40 to 55 range passes this season, he has Pollard. Definitely can help this Dallas Cowboy team and fantasy owners. And right now, it's all about receptions in PPR leagues. Even if a guy, he don't get a lot of yards, but if you get 3 or 4 extra points just off catches alone, that's big. And right now, this Cowboy offense we know is dynamic. I know Dak Prescott, he isn't that great of a quarterback, in my opinion. He's regressed over the last few seasons, but still, teams, they got to worry about CeeDee Lamb. Now they got the deep threat in Brandon Cooks, who obviously has been a 1,000-yard receiver for the most part of his NFL career over 7 seasons. And also, you got Michael Gallup, who's a solid number 3 receiver. So right now, he's in a dynamic offense. Last season, he had a great year as Tony Pollard. And also, they got to make up for the 12 touchdowns that Zeke scored last year. I'm guessing at least 3 or 4 of those will go to Pollard as well this season. So right now, just on volume alone, and no one threatening him for a lot of work here in Dallas, I like Pollard at 7. Number 8, Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. I know people, they're probably down on Stevenson a little bit now with the Ezekiel Elliott signing, but the only thing to me is here, I think Elliott, he's just going to be a short yard guy and goal line guy. Obviously, he's going to take touchdowns away if that's going to be the case here from Stevenson, but Stevenson, another big catch guy out of the backfield. Last year with over 60 receptions, and he rushed for 1,040 yards. So right now, Ramondre Stevenson, he don't have that much of crazy competition, in my opinion. Zeke Elliott, his best days are behind him. His yards per carry over the last 2 or 3 seasons have gone down. And another thing with Zeke, Dallas ran him into the ground. 1,800 carries he's had over his career. So he's taken beatings, and he's got a lot of wear and tear on his body. So Zeke is a change of pace back, like I said. And if you need a 3rd and 1, yes, I see him coming in for some goal line packages. But I still believe Stevenson's going to get anywhere from 18 plus touches a ball game. And like I said, he's one of the best receiving backs in the league. So I got him at 8. Number 9, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. So Taylor definitely can move up in that top 5 range. But right now I got to see it, and I haven't seen it or heard it about Jonathan Taylor. Last season he was banged up most of the year. Coming into training camp, a lot of issues with him, ankle injury. Then a report that his back is snapped up as well a little bit. And also, he wants to get traded, and the owner doesn't want to trade him. So a lot of baggage right now with Jonathan Taylor. I know 2 seasons ago he was the best running back in fantasy football. But this year, I just got to see it from Jonathan Taylor. And with all the things I just listed here, I don't know if he's going to be a top 5 guy. But just on talent alone, as long as he's playing and can work things out, he could be a top 10 guy. So right now, we'll see what happens with Taylor. But as of now, I just got him at number 9. I know he's an elite talent, but we got to see it. Number 10, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. I'm big on Jahmyr Gibbs this season. This kid could do it all. I know his size isn't all that great, but he could do in between the tackles, and he could be a 60-catch running back out of the backfield as well for this Detroit Lion team. So right now in the offseason, they let Jamal Williams go. in free agency. He went with the New Orleans Saints. And DeAndre Swift, they gladly traded him away to Philadelphia Eagles for a low-round draft pick. So right now, Gibbs and David Montgomery, the top backs over there. And I think Gibbs could blow Montgomery out of the water and be a workhorse for the most part, because they obviously used a top 12 pick in the NFL draft. And like I said, we don't really see running backs going early in drafts. I mentioned earlier, Bijan we've seen lately, obviously this year, him and Gibbs. And we've seen Elliott and Barkley, but besides that, we really haven't seen it. So right now, Gibbs was a top 12 pick this season here. And this line team's not going to have this kid sit on the bench. And like I said, he could do it all. He could pass protect. One of the better receivers coming out of college football in the last few years out of the backfield. And right now, I like him a lot this season. If he was my number one running back, I'd actually be confident. I know early in the year might take a little bit, but as the year goes on, this kid's got top 10 potential, no doubt about it. Number 11, Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Josh Jacobs obviously falling down the board a little bit here because he's been holding out the whole training camp. And I think this Raider team, they just don't want to pay anyone, really. They paid Devontae Adams last season. He had a great year, no doubt about it, but this Raider team went nowhere. They cut Derek Carr loose. They got Jimmy G in here. And Josh Jacobs, though, when it's all said and done, I think he caves in, but that might be at the last week of camp where he's going to work his way into shape. So Jacobs last season came out of nowhere pretty much, that no one expected it, where you just drafted him 4th or 5th round and hoped he was a decent number 2 running back. But obviously, he was a top 5 back easily last season in fantasy football. But right now, with the contract dispute, and even if he does come back to camp this week here, it's going to take him some time to get into game shape. And this Raider team has taken a step back a little bit as well, I believe. So right now, I got Jacobs at 11. Number 12, Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Mixon, there was some concern there'll be off the field problems, but those are resolved now for Joe Mixon, and he's not going to be charged with anything. So that should be good news for him, obviously, for this season for fantasy football owners. So right now, Joe Mixon, he's the number 1 back over there in Cincinnati. I know the numbers went down a little bit last season, but Samaje Perine left in free agency and he went to the Denver Broncos. So right now, Mixon, he'll be the number 1 Balkel in Cincinnati once again, with really no competition, only a few youngsters behind them, but they're not ready to see big workloads. So right now, Mixon, we know he's been a solid back the last few years, but this could be one of his last seasons as a very durable fantasy option, in my opinion. But right now, with workload and what he's been doing throughout his career, I got him at 12-13. Breece Hall with the New York Jets. So Breece Hall coming off the ACL. They sound Dalvin Cook, which isn't a great thing here for Breece Hall's fantasy value. But I still think when it's all said and done, Breece Hall, once he's 100% healthy, he's going to get he's going to get 60-70% of the snaps is Breece Hall in this Jet backfield. Then he's a dynamic running back, no doubt about it. Last season, he was off to a tear the first month and a half of the season before he went down with the ACL. And this Jet team, I know, brought in Dalvin Cook, but that's just in case, I believe, to get Hall going. And if it's not, then obviously his fantasy value is going to take a hit. But right now, Breece Hall, he's going anywhere from late 3rd round to 5th round. I've been seeing him go in fantasy leagues. And if you have him as a number 2 running back, I think that's pretty solid, honestly, with Breece Hall. Because even though coming off an injury, he's a running back that still could get 700-800 yards on the ground, I believe, this season. Number 14, Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones, another veteran running back like Joe Mixon, but he still go year in and year out, puts up fantasy numbers. And last season was another solid year, top 10 year for Aaron Jones in fantasy points at the position. We know he can catch the ball out of the backfield. We know he can run in between the tackles. And you also know you get one of those 3 or 4 touchdown games out of him in a season. So right now, Aaron Jones, I think he's a solid running back. Honestly, I'd be comfortable if he was my number 1, and then you get one of these other guys as a close number 2 in the next round after that. But right now, if you could get him as a running back 2 on your roster, I think that's a home run. Number 15, Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Earlier in the preseason, I had Etienne up there in the rankings a little bit higher, but right now he's falling off a little bit with Tank Bigsby getting a lot of work in training camp. And there's even possibly a 50-50 split could happen from what I've been seeing with Tank Bigsby. And obviously this coaching staff and regime didn't draft Travis Etienne a few seasons ago. So right now they might want to go with the rookie Bigsby a little bit more than you would expect. But Etienne, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Last season he had some monster ball games towards the end of the year, especially after they traded James Robinson away to the New York Jets. So Travis Etienne, He can catch the ball out of the backfield, like I said. Him and Lawrence played in college together. And he's still a solid guy as a number 2 running back, or even number 1, a low tier 1 back. He could finish outside as well. Number 16, Dameon Pierce of the Houston Texans. So Dameon Pierce, he's a solid running back last year in his rookie year. Just fell short of 1,000 yards. I know he's not that great of a receiver out of the backfield, but over there I know Devin Singletary signed in free agency, but it's still Pierce's backfield. Singletary would be more of a third down back. Like I said, he's a better receiver than Pierce is, but Pierce is still a running back who could get 1,000 yards a season. And it wouldn't be surprising if he gets 1,200 total yards, anywhere from 5 to 10 touchdowns. Workload's key. And he's a number 2 running back on your fantasy roster. That's definitely solid, I believe, to have Pierce. And he's going right now, 4th, 5th round range. Number 17, J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. So J.K. Dobbins, a few years ago, I was really big on him as a fantasy option. But right now, he's another guy who's been banged up over the last couple seasons, is Dobbins. He's another one in a contract dispute a little bit as well. But right now, there's not much competition over there as well in Baltimore. I know they got Gus Edwards, but he's been injury-prone the last few seasons. I know Melvin Gordon they signed, but there's a possibility he might not make the roster as well out of training camp for this Baltimore Raven team. So right now, it's pretty much J.K. Dobbins' job to come back and be good. And once he was back last season off injury, he was very solid in the last month and a half of the season. And that wasn't even with Lamar Jackson in the lineup. Huntley was the starting quarterback. McCoursley as well started the ball game in there. So right now, Dobbins, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's good in between the tackles, and he fits that offensive system that Harbaugh runs for this Baltimore Raven team. And this Raven team, they want to make a run this season. After last year with injuries and a disappointing season, they beefed up the roster a little bit and signed Lamar to a big contract. So right now, if Dobbins could get back on the field and a guy you could get 4th, 5th round range is your number 2 back, I think that's solid. And he's 17. Number 18, Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Harris, he's definitely down on my board this year. And right now, I've been seeing him go in 2nd, 3rd round in most fantasy drafts. Well, last year was a bad year for Harris. Jaylen Warren, he was eating into the workload a little bit for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And another thing with Harris, yes, he had some catches last year, but he don't get anything after the catch. Like Najee Harris last season, I know it was a foot injury that was part of the problem, no doubt about it. But I have him as a bust this season in my running back bust videos. If you want to check that out, it's on the channel already, because I just don't think Harris's ADP is good. Last season, I had him in a couple leagues. He was struggling mightily, 10, 12 fantasy points when he was a player I drafted in the 1st round. And already in the 2nd year of the league, his burst just didn't look there, and this Steelers offensive line really isn't improved. So right now, different factors going into it. And I'd just rather have these other running backs than I said over Harris. Number 19, Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Seahawks. So going into the offseason, I would add Walker probably as the top 10 running back. But now, with the draft obviously come and gone, Zach Charbonnet they drafted, they got confidence in him. Drafting running back in the 2nd round nowadays is pretty high, obviously. With running back, a lot of teams, they go 4th, 5th round, draft the guy, use him 4 or 5 years, and just recycle it and do it all over again. But anyway, Kenneth Walker, right now, he's falling down the draft boards a little bit as well. 4th, 5th round, he's been going of late. And there's a concern, he's banged up as well with the groin injury here is Kenneth Walker, but he's an explosive running back, no doubt about it. We saw last season, his rookie year, with some big runs and home run hitting ability here was Kenneth Walker. But right now, I still would have confidence as him as a number 2 running back. I wouldn't jump early in the 3rd or 4th round to get him. If I could get him in the 5th round, I would be more comfortable. Number 20, Alexander Mattison of the Minnesota Vikings. So Madison, as of now, he's the man over there in Minnesota after Dalvin Cook got released and signed with the New York Jets, even though they did bring Kareem Hunt in for a visit. Because right now, there's not much behind Madison to be a threat to him, obviously, in the backfield. And Madison, I think they should just give him a shot. He's got similar qualities to Dalvin Cook, and obviously he's 3 years younger as well, with not really many miles on his body, being a backup over the last 4 seasons of his NFL career. He is Alexander Mattison. So right now, as a running back to get 4th, 5th round, I think he's a solid number 2 option for fantasy owners, because he kind of Cook type of output that Cook's had over the last couple seasons. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and get 1,700 total yards, but anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 total yards is very doable if he gets a good workload and possibly double-digit touchdowns. So right now, as a running back too. I like him at 2021. James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. So another guy with not really competition over there in Arizona. I know they got the youngster Keontae Ingram, but he's not going to really challenge Conner for carries. And we know Conner's a 3-down back anyway. He's got good pass protect. One of the better receivers out of the backfield. I know Arizona, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, especially with Kyler Murray out for who knows how long. But even though Colt McCoy, I think he could get the ball to Conner and get things going. And even last season, Conner, when Murray was out, was still producing number 2 running back numbers. So to get Conner late 4th, 5th round, and if you could plug him in as a number 2 running back or a flex option, I like that a lot. And I got him at 21, 22, James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. I think it's James Cook's backfield over there this season. Last year, towards the end of the year, middle of the year, we were starting to see flashes of James Cook becoming the man over there in Buffalo. But a lot of high praise for him in the offseason here. A lot of praise in training camp. Josh Allen believes he could be a 3-down back. And he's a running back that could catch the ball out of the backfield as well. I was big on James Cook last season as a sleeper, but obviously it didn't come to fruition. But Devin Singletary, he left in free agency. He went to Houston. Nyheim Hines, he's out for the year in a jet ski accident or whatever happened with him over there. And now Damian Harris, yes, they brought him in, and Latavius Murray, but they're not really a threat. They're just more short yardage guy. And the only threat they'll be to Cook, in my opinion, is obviously at the goal line. But in terms of catching the football and getting 15, 20 touches per game, that's all going to James Cook, in my opinion. And to play in a high-flying offense, obviously, with Buffalo, it's Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Gabe Davis, Dalton Kincaid, I'm excited about this season. Dawson Knox, there's some good weapons over there. And I think Cook's the running back this team needs. That Josh Allen could stop running as much and stop taking some big hits in the open field. So I got him in 22, 23, Miles Sanders of the Carolina Panthers. So Miles Sanders, I don't like him at all this season. And I got him as a busted running back position as well. So Sanders, he's still going to be probably a top 24 running back, a number 2 back for your fantasy roster. But there's going to be a lot of inconsistent games. Last season, he was in a dynamic offense and arguably the best offense in football last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, where he was catching the ball. He had over 1,000 yards. But this season, there's not a lot of talent around him, obviously. In Philly, you had A.J. Brown, you had Devonta Smith that defenses had to pay attention to, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts running the ball. But now you go to a Carolina team where it's DJ Chark, Adam Thielen is the top 2 wide receivers, Hayden Hurst at tight end, and a quarterback, Bryce Young. So right now, the receptions aren't really going to be there for Sanders. Definitely the volume, anywhere from 15 to 20 touches a game will be there, where he just might play himself into a number 2 role. But to be honest, I'm not interested in Miles Sanders as a second running back on my team or a guy that I want to draft for the 4th or 5th round. So right now, just on volume, he'll probably land in the top 24, but I got him at 23, 24, Rachaad White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Rachaad White last season, a lot of people were calling for him to get a lot of work, and that didn't happen towards the end of the year, where it was like a 50-50 split with him and Leonard Fournette. And now we obviously have seen so far at time of recording this video that no one signed Leonard Fournette. So anyway, Rachaad White, he's a good receiver out of the backfield. Last season, over 50 catches in his rookie year. And if they just give him the reins over there, this guy's got a shot at 70 grabs out of the backfield, where we know Baker Mayfield, he likes to dump it off a lot to his running back throughout his NFL career. So right now, this Tampa team, they're going to take a step back. It's going to be a lot of garbage time, I believe, in their ball games. But I believe Rachaad White could put in top 24 numbers with his receiving prowess, especially in PPR leagues. So right now, as a guy to get 6th or 7th round, I like the value a lot for Rachaad White. I'll be comfortable with him as my number 2 running back is Rachaad White. So I got him at 24, 25, DeAndre Swift of the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Lions, they dumped them off on draft day for a 4th round pick to the Eagles. And now it looks like him and Rashad Penny and Gainwell, it might be a 3-man committee over there in Philadelphia. But I think Swift has the most upside. We know he's a good receiver out of the backfield. And last season, it was just a weird role for Swift. He just was never 100% healthy. And obviously, Jamal Williams was taking all the touches. But now he goes to Philadelphia, and I think Philly's going to utilize him very well in that offense, because they got a lot of guys that can do different things in a versatile, like a Devonta Smith. Obviously, Hurts a very versatile quarterback, and Swift fits that as well as a versatile running back in between the tackles and lining up on the outside and catching the ball out of the backfield. So right now, even him as a number 2 running back, I think I would roll the dice with it on my fantasy team. So I got him in 25, 26, Javonte Williams, the Denver Broncos. So right now, Javonte, he's back, and it's very surprising coming off the ACL where he did it in the season as Javonte. So he's playing, he's practicing, and it looks like he might be the week 1 starter here with him or Samaje Perine. But I think Perine's still going to get work. I like Perine this season as a sleeper option as well. I mentioned that in the sleeper videos is Perine, because last season, the few games he filled in for Joe Mixon, he was very solid, and he's a good receiver out of the backfield. So the way I see this backfield, Javonte will get early downs work, but Perine will get passing downs work in a few series as well. But I think Javonte has the edge here with a 65-35% snap differential. So right now, if he's healthy, I think he could be a decent RB2 on your roster. But if you could get him as a flex option, I think that's even better. So I got him in 26, 27, Khalil Herbert of the Chicago Bears. So I like Khalil Herbert a lot. Last season, I believe he outplayed David Montgomery, in my opinion. Now, obviously, the Bears let him walk. He signed with the Lions. And Herbert's here now with Deonta Foreman and Johnson in the backfield. We'll see who wins the job out. But Herbert, he could do it all as well. He could run in between the tackles. He's a very good receiver out of the backfield. And he fits what this team wants to do over there in Chicago. Obviously, when you got a versatile quarterback like a Justin Fields and who's a playmaker, a lot of dump offs we're going to see, a lot of screens. And I think Herbert, he's good for a few catches per game. And a guy who could get 15 touches a game total as well. So right now, at the back end of the 7th, 8th round of fantasy leagues here, I think it's good value for Khalil Herbert. And like I said, he's a player that could go out there and make plays. And we saw it last season when Montgomery was banged up, and even in the split with him. So I got him in 27, 28, Dalvin Cook and the New York Jets. On Dalvin Cook, a lot of people thought he was going to go to the Miami Dolphins, but he picks the New York Jets, and it does make the backfield a little murky. I mentioned it obviously early in the video where I was talking about Breece Hall, but Dalvin Cook, last couple years, the yards per game have gone down drastically. 111 yards per game, 2021, 89 yards per game, and then the last season I just passed, he had a good year on paper, but only 69 yards per game. So now he goes to a New York Jet offense, obviously Rodgers and Garrett Wilson most likely the focal point. And I don't know how much work Cook's going to get. I don't know if it's going to be a 50-50 split early in the year, 60-40. I just don't know. But I think Cook was better off in terms of fantasy football going to another team like the Miami Dolphins, who didn't have a clear-cut one. And we know the Jets do have a clear-cut type 1 running back, even though Hall's coming off the ACL injury. So right now, Dalvin Cook, he's a running back that I'm going to probably target 7th, 8th round. And if someone takes him a little earlier than that, let him go off the board, because he's not going to have 100% role. And he's just got to get in shape as well coming to training camp this late into the season as Cook. And 29, Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Pacheco last season, a lot of people were calling for him to be the starter early and often, but now he's missed most of the training camp with an injury. He's supposed to be ready week 1 though. Here's Pacheco, and we'll see if that happens, obviously. So right now, as a back-end 2 running back, a bench guy or a flex option, I guess he's serviceable, Pacheco, but coming off the injury, like I said, and this Chief team, they don't run the football a lot. Jerick McKinnon might have the most output out there in the backfield in Kansas City, but in terms of in between the tackles and goal line touches, Pacheco's going to get that. This Kansas City Chief team, don't go back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He just wasn't efficient last season, and I think he had his opportunities. And like I said, Pacheco was solid in the playoffs, and especially in the Super Bowl. So right now, I got him at 29, and the 30th and final running back I'm ranking heading into the season is Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks. I think Charbonnet is going to take work from Kenneth Walker. That's why I had Kenneth Walker drop down to 19 on my list this season, and they drafted him in the 2nd round. Was his Seattle Seahawks team, and he could do a little bit of everything as well. He could catch the ball out of the backfield well. He could run in between the tackles. And we saw last season that this team, they were going with Rashad Penny before he got hurt, and then Kenneth Walker took over. So it wouldn't be surprising to me that this starts off with Walker being the lead back, 65% of the snap share for Walker. And then as the weeks go on, I could see Charbonnet eating into that. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if he's the lead guy over there as the season goes on right now in Seattle. So for a guy to take on your bench, and at the back end of the 8th, 9th round range he's been going, I've seen in ADP and some mock drafts here, Charbonnet. He's a guy that I got at 30, so that's the top 30 running backs I'm ranking heading into the 2023 season.